Christmas, you can plan on me. Please have snow and mistletoe and presents on the tree.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the holidays with just a couple of guys. My partner, Pat Crimmins.
Hello,
Pat.
everybody.
And yours truly, Ray Rogina, along with our trusty producer, Paul Stukel. Hello, Paul.
Hey, Ray, how you doing?
Good. We have planned some interesting and fun holiday programming to get you in the mood for the holidays and to make your plans accordingly. Our podcast today is in two parts. First, we greet the diligent executive director of the St. Charles Business Alliance, Jenna Sawicki. Jenna will tell us all of the exciting events planned for St. Charles immediately after our personal Thanksgiving celebrations. This includes the lighting of the lights and the much anticipated Electric Light Parade. This year's parade has as its grand marshal the St. Charles History Museum, which is celebrating its 90th anniversary. Pat and I thought it'd be fun to pay a visit to the museum and show you what you may observe upon visiting it in downtown St. Charles. We will begin shortly after a word from one of our fine sponsors. Stay tuned.
Tony, your parents know you're over here again, right?
Yep.
Great.
Tony lives next door. See, his parents decided to just use their phone for home internet. So when everyone is on, Tony's over here streaming and drinking all my soda.
My dog.
Switch to fast internet on the Xfinity 10G network today. The future starts now.
We're going to bed, Tony.
Good night. I'll lock up if I leave.
Get real home internet on the next generation 10G network only from Xfinity.
Hello, friends. This is Ray Rogina. You face technology challenges every day that threaten to steal business, compromise data, and bring your business down. Without a good partner to help protect from phishing, ransomware, viruses, data breaches, employee turnover, and cybersecurity threats, your business is at risk of losing everything. Teqworks has been the trusted IT partner to Fox Valley businesses for over 20 years, keeping systems secure and providing extraordinary customer service, helping your business grow. Call Teqworks today at 630-482-2227 or visit www.teqworks.com. That's Teqworks with a Q, T-E-Q works, and see how Teqworks IT service can transform and secure your business. Well, we're back and pleased to have again this year, and we talked to Jenna last year, Pat and I did. Jenna Sawicki, the fine executive director of the St. Charles Business Alliance. And Jenna, welcome and happy holidays and happy Thanksgiving to you and everyone else at the Alliance.
Thank you very much. Happy holidays.
Well, and holidays does mean a lot's going on in St. Charles. We know that for as customary over all these years, and the Business Alliance hasn't missed a beat in constantly improving what the offerings are for the holiday season to the residents of St. Charles and the Fox Valley. So I'm just going to turn this right over to you now and take us through the traditional activities that take place right after the Thanksgiving Day celebration we have at home, the Friday and the Saturday in St. Charles.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are so lucky to be doing yet another holiday homecoming here in St. Charles. So Friday the 24th of November, we will have our lighting of the light ceremony. It's a really magical night, and that starts at 5 p.m. And it's really magical because the whole community comes out. We have the crowds from both high schools, North and East, singing Christmas carols. We have a visit from the big guy, Santa himself, that comes out. And it's just kind of a really beautiful opportunity to get the light. We turn the lights on, and it's just kind of a magical experience down on the plaza, on the First Street Plaza.
I was going to say the First Street Plaza, there's a bit of construction going on down there, as we all know, as we move toward a completion of a great project. But So for this year, can you tell our audience exactly where the lighting of the lights will be?
Absolutely. That's really helpful for us too. So it will be on the existing plaza. So if you are familiar with the existing plaza behind McNally's, 𝐇𝐨𝐦𝐞𝐜𝐨𝐦, and La Mesa, that area right there, we are having to get very creative this year because we are expecting a lot of people. So one of the cool things that we're doing is we're putting like the singing chorales, like I mentioned, on the balcony of Steel Beam and Szechuan. So that'll be like a really cool like ambiance and trying something new as we can get close to the very end of the construction. And then next year it'll look even different. So it's just something new and unique for the community because we'll be able to utilize that whole plaza next year.
Right,
So
exactly. And I'm assuming he always does a great job of this. Brian Henry, the voice of the Valley,
correct.
on hand to be the MC. I take it, right?
Absolutely. We always welcome back Brian as long as he's willing to do it for us. And the
Great
voice
guy.
of the Valley. That's what I was told when I started here, and he's been here ever since I've been here. So
Well, he did basketball on the defunct WGSB for a long time, and he's quite a nice guy. And then of course the traditional and always much anticipated because it's just it's unique, let's say the least. On Saturday, the parade. I saw a note somewhere that said you're going to have about 60 floats in that thing.
yeah, so I'll take you through the whole morning. So at 10 a.m. we have a free movie at the Arcata, and we're doing which we're so lucky to partner with the Arcata, and we have a movie that's sponsored by McNally's Heating and Cooling, which I know you guys know them very well.
One of our sponsors. Yes.
So they sponsored the movie, and it's Home Alone this year. So we encourage families to come out. It's totally free. Wear your jammies, your Christmas jammies, and come. The Arcata opens up their snack bar, and it's just kind of a really cool experience. And then we have the rest of the day. We have Santa visits from 1 to 4. And then we also had, I think we're going to talk about it a little bit later, but we have some really cool shopping stuff going on this year. And then of course the day kind of ends with the magical, electric Christmas parade, which kicks off at 5:30. And we do have actually about 66 entries this year, which is more than we've had in a while. It's going to be a tight up in the area, but there was just too many good things to turn away. But we do have a waiting list now, so. There's just too many really good, amazing floats. The community's really come out and gets really creative. So it's hard for us to turn anyone away.
And I know from past experience that you're just a great weather woman. And so I think you can tip the audience now by telling them what kind of weather we're going to have for that event.
Well, if I had a magic wand, it would be, beautiful. But I think looking right now, we're looking at 40s, but no rain. So dry is good. We can handle anything as long as it's dry.
All right. Pat?
My favorite part of Thanksgiving Day parades is the balloons, the large balloons that they walk along with. And I was wondering, perhaps if you could have a Ray and Pat, just a couple of guys balloon in the parade. Mine would be larger, of course, but maybe next year we could do that.
Yeah, whatever. You guys can get as creative as you want to.
Sure.
We have lots of really interesting entries. Always, we're always trying to look for new and creative things that's going to impress the crowd. So absolutely.
So you've given us a little itinerary of what's happening Friday and Saturday, but where would be the best place to get the times and events if somebody really needs to look? I know you have an app, and it's fantastic. If you could remind everybody what it is and where they can find it.
Sure. So the best places are to find the information about all the things that are happening is the stcholidayhomecoming.com or just the Alliance website, which is stcalliance.com. That's the best place to find any information about any of our events and programming that is happening here in the area. And then we mentioned our app. Which our Travel St. Charles app, which we are so excited about, has continued to grow with us. We're really excited about that kind of natural growth of it, and people continue to download it. And so we mentioned a little bit earlier. So actually, for the first time this year, we are collaborating. Small Business Saturday always happens the Saturday of the parade. And so this year, one of the cool things that we're doing in collaboration with our app and collaboration with all of our retail businesses is we are doing a shop crawl in St. Charles. So on Saturday and Sunday, so that is the 25th and 26th. There's 19 different participating businesses, all retail businesses in St. Charles, and you can go and there's deals I have that are really exciting, and that people can go and check it out. Shop small, support local. We have some amazing, retail businesses that you can get all of your Christmas shopping done. And so one of the things that you can do is you check in on the different businesses on the app, and you can win a gift prize from that is a little bit from everybody in that's participating in that.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Now, that's something that you guys have always highlighted, is that small business Saturday. Is this kind of a new thing, this shop local thing?
Our shop crawl's new this year. So what's really cool is that our businesses are so creative and always coming up with new inventive things. So so Shannon from the Pep line and Carrie from Trend and Relic, about 2 years ago, started a shop crawl. They did it in the spring, and they got all the local businesses to kind of get deals together, and they made a big to do about it. So then last spring we had a brainstorm and decided we were going to kind of take over the marketing of it and invite everyone, all the different retail businesses, to take part. So this is the biggest one we've had. And we'll do one in the spring as well, but we're trying one out here on Small Business Saturday, and we're really excited about the businesses that we've had participating. Like I said, 19 different ones. And it's just really it's really cool to see all the different businesses, think collaboration, not competition. It's much more of a community focus, and it's really cool to be able to showcase all of them.
And I imagine there'll be candy available.
Sure. I can say that's a request. Absolutely.
And we want to see those corals up on the stairs, the little areas throwing down candy on the parade. That would be.
Well, we'll see. I'll have to run that one by Chief.
Yeah, run that by the lawyers. Okay, Ray?
I was just going to say, I was going to throw a compliment in here, and I think every year you seem to outdo yourself, and I'm proud of the fact that I'm just a resident of St. Charles and get a chance to see this, but I've had several people this year already come up to me and say, that St. Charles commercial they've seen on MSNBC and CNN and a few other the local stations is just wonderful. They said, what a way to showcase the city, and who does that for and who's I said, well, the Business Alliance does it. I know they have people that they use to help them put it together, but I'll repeat, I think every year you seem to outdo yourself in advertising St. Charles during the holiday season, and I just wanted to commend you for that and say that it's a great job.
Thank you. Yeah, our marketing team is probably the most stellar and creative they've ever been. We work with a videographer group called The Love Creative, and they've made a lot of our commercials. We absolutely love working with them, pun intended, I guess. And we have actually already filmed our spring one for next year, and we are actually working on filming our winter one now for next winter. So it's a good feeling to getting a little bit ahead of the ball there.
Well, I know Pat's got some inquiry as to what's ahead as the 2024 year comes about.
Well, we're already filming commercials for next winter. So, so 2024, you've talked a little bit about the fact that you're going to have something in March or during the spring. Tell us a little bit about what's ahead.
Yeah, so once, there's no rest for us. So once we wrap up the holidays here in St. Charles, we are already starting to work hard on our next events, which is Restaurant Week. So Restaurant Week this year is February 5th through the 9th. Which we're very excited about. It's a way to highlight our culinary scene here in St. Charles, which, as you guys know, is absolutely stellar. We have more and more amazing restaurants that keep coming out, and we love that we are really being known as like a great restaurant scene. So we're very proud of that. So mark that on your calendar. And then what's also cool about that is the first time since COVID, we're actually going back to that 20% off. We had, because the restaurants were still sort of healing from COVID, we had gone to like 10% and 15%. So this year we're kind of back to that full blown 20% off your off your bill, and we really feel like that's going to draw even more people out. It's like more pull as or is the juice worth the squeeze? So we're really excited to bring that back. And then after that, we will be hosting our wonderful St. Patrick's Day Parade on March 9th in downtown St. Charles. And that's a very exciting parade. It's our huge parade. We have usually 90 entries for that one. Lots of walkers, so it's a lot more. It's in the daytime, so it's a little bit more chaotic, a little bit longer, but it's really fun, and it's a great opportunity this year that we're doing it early on the 9th, so that we can showcase our businesses basically 2 weekends in a row, and our businesses can have 2 really successful weekends for our entertainment district in the downtown and beyond. So we're thrilled to be able to support our businesses in that way.
And anything beyond March?
Oh yeah, well don't worry. After that, we have our fine art show. I mean, we never are resting around here. So we have our fine art show, which is always Memorial Day weekend. We always have about 100 juried in artists for that, and it's always a really exciting event to bring in such high caliber art. And we've just become known as like a really nice fine art show. And the artists that we bring in, it's really great, and we get to partner with all the different businesses, and that's been really great. And then we also kick off STC Live, which is around that same time, right. And we hire a intern every year, right. And they really focus on that event. And it's one of my favorite parts of my job is the opportunity to work with local local young person, and it's usually someone in college that's from St. Charles or from the area, Fox Valley area, and that's one of my favorite things. We're actually getting ready to post that, so if anyone's interested or know anyone is interested in our internship, it's always highly applied for, so it's always very stressful on me to try to choose someone.
Right.
And
at some point,
Pat, I have a sneaking suspicion that as the new east part of the plaza opens up, the Business Alliance will be finding ways to make use of that new piece of downtown St. Charles. And I know I'm very excited to see that to its completion. And I'm sure the rest of the community is as well. So I just thought I'd toss that in there.
Yeah, I noticed that Zaza's got access to 64 now.
Yeah, that's very exciting.
It's good because people can walk right in. So
absolutely,
it's very exciting. So if you could give us your websites again that are relevant to the Christmas or the holiday season, I guess, and the Thanksgiving parade, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So follow us on all of our socials. We're on TikTok, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. You can find us on all of those, but for Holiday Homecoming, you can check out stcholidayhomecoming.com or just our regular website, which is stcalliance.org. And, check us out. We have so much information, from restaurant information. We do events. That's sort of like one of the things we do, but we're always marketing the community and really trying to bring in people into St. Charles and really promote it as a destination.
You're doing great. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Pat and I have been very pleased the last couple of years that when we ask a particular city to highlight some of the events that go on, we've engaged some wonderful people to do such and to talk about their cities and the events that happen there. And young lady, you're no exception to that. You always come on and do a wonderful job of portraying what is going on in St. Charles. For that, we are very grateful, and we thank you, and we wish you a very happy and wonderful Thanksgiving as well.
I would always come on and do this for you guys. So this is always fun to do, and no pressure. It's talking to old friends. So I really appreciate you guys.
We appreciate that. Pat, I think it's time that you and I take a little hike down to the History Museum and see what's going on down there. So we're going to take a small break. And when we come back, we'll be live at the History Museum. So you stay tuned. Hello, friends. This is Ray Rogina. Are you looking for the place to be? Voted best live music and entertainment venue by the Daily Herald in 2023? That would be Old Republic in Elgin, an indoor-outdoor hub with classic American eats, beer, and cocktails, plus the best sports bar, burgers, wings, and ribs. Best value? Old Republic. Another good place to be. Well, we're back, and as promised, Pat and I meandered down here to the St. Charles History Museum on the near east side of St. Charles on Main Street. And we added a friend to our podcast, and that is the president of the St. Charles History Museum, one Steve Gibson. Gibby, always a pleasure to see you.
Great to see you guys.
It's nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet
And
you too.
we'll start by congratulating you because in the 90th year of this history museum, the Alliance, the Business Alliance, who we talked to earlier in the podcast, has said that you guys are going to be the Grand Marshals right out here on Main Street.
Fantastic, yeah.
This Saturday, excuse me, for the parade.
Yeah, great. I mean, the symbol that is in this city is going on as long as it has. To actually be part of that and to have it coincide with our 90th year is very cool to us. We're going to fill that float up with people involved with the museum.
And so, Pat being the history major that he is, and me being here 5 decades and enjoying the town immensely, we thought it was just a natural thing that as part of this podcast, why don't you show our residents who have perhaps never come to the History Museum and our guests from up and down the Fox Valley a little snapshot of what we have here.
Fantastic. Happy to do it.
All right, let's do this. Let's take a walk through St. Charles History Museum.
Sounds good. The building itself, let me tell you that first, is 1928 McCornack Oil Company headquarters, okay? Later became what they called the East Side Gas Station. Eventually, most people in St. Charles know it as a Texaco station. It was
Archie Benz.
Archie Benz, yep. Good friend of the History Museum. So we're actually in that building. We're standing now where it would have smelled a lot more like oil and grease and other things. That would have been the front door, and where we were a moment ago would have been the first row of the island of gas pumps. We actually would have been outdoors.
Did you ever buy gas over here?
I never bought gas here, but I do have a storage, but that's another day.
All right, and then what we did was we got this building from the city back in 2000, 2001 era, and it was remodeled and repurposed for the museum. So that's kind of what we're walking through. We're now walking through our lobby. We're going to head into the museum space itself where most of the exhibits are. Up until about 10 years ago, it kind of reminded me of an antique store, okay? It was a lot of glass cases like you see here, not a lot of stories, okay? About 10 years ago, it got rearranged by our then executive director, and it was recreated, and now it tells a story kind of in chronological order around the outside of the building. So when people come in, they enter here, they kind of walk around through the whole history of St. Charles. In big strokes, what it basically is our Civil War era, our 19th century era. We move into an industrial area. We got a whole wall, of course, devoted to the Bakers and Norrises because it's such a big part of the story of St. Charles. And then we move into the 50s and 60s, and then we're into the 70s. And then, of course, we've got the magic telephone booth here, which anyone under the age of about 21 is unable to open the door on, we've discovered. So it's one of those mysteries.
I call the 70s the Crimmins era. Is that...
Oh, that might, yeah, that may, that, yeah.
What about the, let's talk about the Civil War just for a second real quick.
Sure, so let's talk about a couple things here. First off, that's 𝐇𝐨𝐥𝐢𝐝𝐻, a little quick story about St. Charles. When we were originally founded, we were called Charleston, okay?
Right.
It turns out that in 1839, we discovered that the county seat of Cole County in southern Illinois was already called Charleston. So we had to change the name of the city. So all the town fathers got together over a couple of cigars and bourbons, I got a feeling, and they were sitting there talking about what are we going to change the name to? And one gentleman suggested Ithaca, and a German man there in the crowd said, no German will ever be able to pronounce Ithaca. So they all laughed about it and said, we got to come up with a different name. 𝐇𝐨𝐥𝐿𝐼𝐴𝐻, who was an attorney, he owned the White House that's right up here across the street from the library. 𝐇𝐨𝐿𝐼𝐴𝐻 was an attorney and a judge and a publisher and a pharmacist and everything else he could be in the 1840s. He suggested the name St. Charles. And after he did that, everybody said, I'll drink to that. And we were done. So we became St. Charles at that time. This is the desk from the House of Representatives, the U.S. House of Representatives for General Farnsworth. He represented this area in Congress. I believe it was 3 terms. That's just off the top of my head that he was in 3 terms as representative. It coincided with the Civil War. He stopped serving to become part of the Civil War. He actually founded Camp Cain here and put that first group together. Ended up being a good friend of Abraham Lincoln's, and his group, the 8th Illinois Cavalry, ended up being the bodyguards or the honor guard for Lincoln's body when they brought it cross country back to Springfield. So it's kind of a cool tie-in to St. Charles too. Lots of other things in St. Charles, of course, having Cain. That was Camp Cain up there, by the way. Another quick story. That photo comes from a cracked glass negative. And I took that negative and I edited it and I put it together. When I did, I noticed something. We've been calling this a Camp Cain encampment for years. But when I did, I noticed something when I kind of zoomed in, and you probably won't be able to see it yourselves, but you see this man standing here with the horizontal striped shirt?
Yes, I do.
One of those 1900 era bathing suits that the guys used to wear. He's got a straw bowler hat on his head. There's a little girl with a bonnet standing in front of him, and there's a dog sitting on a boulder right next to him looking him in the face. I said, somehow I don't think that was a Civil War encampment at that point. I think
There
that
you
was
go.
probably, and then somebody else pointed out to me, I said, yeah, well, what about the sailboat in the front here? I said, well, that pretty much does it. I don't think it was where the encampment was, but that's not a picture of the encampment. Okay. Lots of other little things in here from different types of things. That actually belonged to Mike Shortall. That's his reenactor's costume. He gave that to us after he quit reenacting.
Did Mike Shortall? No, well.
At some point, you have to stop reenacting.
We move into the era now when we got industry in St. Charles and things like that. We've got a millwright wheel here, but I think the coolest part in here, two different things. Heinz Cut Glass Factory, we know just recently there's been a lot of talk about the Heinz Cut Glass Company. Originally in Chicago, they opened up a plant out here. They made beautiful cut glass work. And cut glass means they used a cutting tool to cut the grooves that you see in the crystal. Next to this, that's the city water main. Wooden pipe. This was in use, I believe, right there. It says 1938 was when that was taken out of the ground. So I can't tell you when it was put in.
Some people say that some of those kinds of mains are still in existence. here in
Probably,
town,
yeah. Who
and
knows? Yeah, somewhere.
We need a little work on that. Note
dig,
to the city council.
you're gonna dig that up sometime. A couple of other things. Everyone's familiar with Aquabetta statue along the Fox River. A long time before that, back in the 1920s, I believe, 1920, I believe. We had another statue there of a Potawatomi Indian. Can't tell you how accurate it was or anything else. It was vandalized and destroyed, and this actually is the head of the statue that was there that was recovered. So that's where that came from, okay? Other than that, I mean, a lot of stuff. One of the cool things we have here, this was actually redone recently. This is an antique, but this is an example of what Colonel Baker actually put on Route 64, and then he took it all the way west during the Chicago World's Fair. These kinds of things saying that when you're on your way to the Chicago World's Fair, stay at the best hotel outside Chicago, avoid the traffic and everything else. So these exist all up and down
I have
the
to
road.
admit, this picture here really is something else, only because we're kind of standing looking, when we walk outside the History Museum,
Literally.
we're looking right down at the same place. There's the hotel, that hasn't changed one bit.
Yep.
I mean, in terms of just looking at it, there it is. And the river, of course.
I don't think I knew that we had streetcars.
Oh, yeah, we actually had a bunch of different streetcars.
Whiskey Bend down there, the other side of the streetcar turned, right, Gibson?
Exactly. We talk about that in the downtown walking tour that we do from here in the museum. We actually take all the way down here, talk about a lot of stuff. This is kind of the termination point for one of the interurban lines. It kind of meshed with another one, but it actually went back and forth, Geneva to us. Yeah, but otherwise, I mean, take a look at it. This is that small peak building I was telling you about a few minutes ago next to the office. That's the office there.
Right.
The parking lot out here, you can see that's the front of the gas station. And I think one of the things people tell me when they're on that tour that they appreciate about St. Charles is the fact that it does look like that still on Main Street, that we have managed to preserve that. So I think that's a pretty cool thing. So
is there an Arcata, a theater? No?
Yeah, the Arcata Theater is actually, in this one, is going to be down here, but one of the things that a lot of people don't know is there wasn't a marquee on the original Arcata like there is today. There was a theater marquee like this that stuck out, but not the big Arcata thing that went up.
And across the street, of course, is the Lewis.
Which I was in the other night on my head.
Oh, were you really?
Yes, I was.
I thought we had a deal and we would go together.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So now we're kind of getting into the Norris Baker wing. This is to me, really kind of the heart of what happened with St. Charles and what set St. Charles apart from a lot of other suburbs along the Fox Valley. The fact that in the 19-teens, we had an influx of $40 million come into the city in that money of that era. It's about $250 million.
Right.
And the two people that inherited it both decided to stay in St. Charles, which was pretty cool. So in the 1920s, we had one of the largest building contracts going on outside the city of Chicago was right here in St. Charles. The Arcata, the Hotel Baker, the bank, the Baker Community Center, all these buildings that got built by those two families, the Norrises and the Bakers. Norris himself was known for wearing this straw bowler. That's his hat. Those are his canes right there. He actually was a farmer originally, but over time he became more of a horseman. The colonel in Colonel Baker is a Kentucky colonel. He was actually given the Kentucky colonel name.
And could tell our audience about the horse, only because we know it's buried here in the...
Yeah, Greyhound was a horse that he bought. It was a horse that was unlike any other horse. It was a harness racing horse. but it was fast. It held records forever. It won the 1932 or 35 Hamiltonian.
Oh, the big race.
The big race, okay, held the records up into the 1960s. Horse died in 1966. Again, I'm trying to remember all these just off the top of my head. I believe it was 1966. When the horse passed away, he was so famous that busloads of people would come to the city to go visit his grave, which is over on Redgate Farm right now. He's buried there with a couple of other horses, and the Colonel's beloved dogs are buried over there too. So that's an example of one of the trophies that he would have won. Besides the horses and everything else, of course, the big thing he did was build Hotel Baker. He built Hotel Baker to be a show place to match any hotel in the Chicago area. And a couple of cool things that he did that I really enjoy. He built it on the site of the old Haynes Mill, okay? It was a mill with a raceway going underneath it. Well, rather than clog that raceway up and fill it up, he used it. He put down in the basement a couple of electric generators, hydroelectric generators, and he ran the hotel off the power that those generators created. With that power, he put a glass floor in the bottom of what they call the Rainbow Room. It had glass tiles like this on it. And underneath it, in the 1920s, okay, underneath it, he had different colored light bulbs, all hooked up to these big switches that you can imagine. And they could change the patterns with different switches and have those lights doing during parties and shows. A lot of big bands from that era played there and stuff like that. And Baker was kind of a man of the people, so one of the things that he did was he ran wires under the Fox River over to the municipal tower, which had opera radio speakers in it, okay? And he would actually play the music that was being played by the big bands inside the thing. He played out in the public.
Yeah, people would gather over on that side of the river and listen on a Sunday.
Exactly.
Very generous.
You'll kind of like this now. We've moved into a little bit of a different era. This is Duquesne, okay? Duquesne Opera Radio. This is actually one of their original radios. I think, and I could be wrong here, but I believe they called this a portable radio. And that's because of the size of it, not necessarily because everybody put it on their shoulders and walked around with it. But this particular radio, we've just found out recently, would belong to the owner, the original founder of Duquesne. And we have a picture, I don't have it handy, but we have a picture of him downtown in Chicago, second floor of his building in Chicago, okay? He's with a wax pencil. He's writing down the score, the box score for the 1925 World Series. And they've got this radio in the window cranked up loud. They're playing the World Series in real time. And there's a crowd all the way down the block of people on either side listening live to this thing being broadcast with that radio. So it's
who played in the 25 World Series? Do you
know? The A's and the Mets.
All right, very good. By the way, Gibby, that is that sign that you were talking about right there.
Exactly, Went all the way up and down. They called this the Illuminated Highway when World Fair was going on. Cable Piano Factory, cable player pianos.
Yes,
we have here.
Piano Factory.
Yep. Later on, the Factory Outlet Mall. We get into a lot of other things here. A couple of quick, cool stories I'll tell you about over here. One of the things that's still famous today, if you go on eBay and you search for St. Charles kitchens, you're going to find entire metal kitchens that are still in existence being sold for big dollars. They are still something that people want. So important and so wanted that when Alfred Hitchcock signed a contract to do his movies, was it Warner? I can't remember exactly where it was. One of the things in his contract was they had to build him a house on the site. They built him a house and he spec'd St. Charles kitchen cabinets. When he showed up to get the house the first day and they walked in the door and thought he'd be stunned by it, he went over and measured the cabinets. They were off by 1/8 of an inch. He had to rip them all out and remake all of them custom again to be in there.
Am I correct? St. Charles Kitchen's display is in the Frank Lloyd Wright place in Pennsylvania near Pittsburgh.
Yep. Frank Lloyd Wright, you'll see them everywhere. And like I say, amazing in old homes how they've held up and kept their value and stuff like that. Howell was another company. They make these pith helmets, okay, which we've seen a million times, but even cooler, most of their money was made making metal lunch trays, okay, for prisons and for schools and things like that. That was where they made their money.
And I'm looking up there only because I think a lot of people do miss WGSP. It was the place where you listen to football and basketball games in the area for both St. Charles, Geneva, and Batavia. And Jack Brickhouse, the longtime voice of the Cubs, was the owner.
Yep.
WGSP.
I did not know that.
Yeah. This picture here shows the cable outlet mall, the Cable Piano Factory outlet mall over there on the corner. This downtown view, aerial view. Colson's across the street, kind of where the museum starts from in 1933 during the Chicago World's Fair. They're holding a centennial here in St. Charles for our 100 years, 1833 to 1933. as part of that, they've got a big historic exhibit going on up there. They've got, I think it was Frank Underwood's history collection, along with Colson's history collection, all up on the second floor, a lot of paintings and everything else. Christmas Eve, 1933, the place goes up in flames. Lost a lot of items, not necessarily museum items, but a lot of historic items from St. Charles went up in flames that night.
Seems to me you've got almost 10 years to prepare for the 200th anniversary in 2033.
Yes, yeah, we do, yeah.
And now you got to tell us about this pickle thing, because this is all over the place. You have sweatshirts outside about the pickle capital world, so talk to us about that.
You know, one of the best things today, we got a lot of people that aren't working remote anymore, or they are working remote, they're not going to the office anymore. This guy was kind of the founder of that idea of working remote. He was the marketing director for the Pickle Packers International. Basically, it was a lobbying group for pickle packers. And what he did was he lived here in St. Charles, and he decided rather than having to fly to Washington all the time, he just moved the Pickle Packers International headquarters here to St. Charles. So once he did that, all of this stuff went along with it. So we've got pickle telephones. That's a putter there made to look like a pickle. These are name tags. This is the National Kraut Packers Association, also happened to be here in St. Charles. All these things together. But my favorite is this plastic pickle here. So the story I'm told is that 20, 30 years ago, that pickle was actually packed up in a box and sent to Prince Harry and Prince William as little boys as a toy, okay, as a gift for their birthday. When they got over to England, they opened up the box, they took one look at what was in the box, they closed it back up again and mailed it back. So that's why it's here in the museum and not in somebody's garage over in the UK.
Now, everybody who's been around St. Charles for a while is certainly aware of Ray's Evergreen, Roly Boly, etc. I just want to make a declaration here that when Ray's was sold, while I was mayor, they kept the name Evergreen. I was happy to see that. I did protest the fact that Ray's was taken off, but the spirit of that longtime bar, which was also called Gus's Evergreen at one time,
Gus's, yeah.
It's nice. And their fish fries on Friday night are absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of an interesting fact. That bar actually opened up during Prohibition, 1926, 1927. Luckily for it, it happened to be outside St. Charles city limits at the time, so the only type of police protection there was out there was county, okay? So it did all right. Now, I'm sure they never sold any liquor out there, but had they wanted to, okay, they would have probably had a lot easier time of it than if they were within the city limits. So I think that's one of the reasons why it's existed.
And I'll throw out a bone to longtime owner, Bernie Deutsch.
Yeah.
Long time.
Definitely. Let's see, what else we have here? You mentioned Rex's. Karen Comstock, Karen Morrison originally, Miss Illinois first, then Miss USA, 1976, 79, again.
And as I told you, she was in my house.
She wasn't, yeah, that's
dating
right.
a friend of my brother's. I said, when I saw her. I was like 12 or something.
Yes, you were.
This is the original setup for Rex's. It was actually a drive-in originally. Mr. Morrison decided that he wanted to try a regular restaurant, so he took part of that space and he made it into a regular restaurant. It took off so well that he eventually got rid of the entire thing. A little known fact, somebody told me just recently, the big canopy that they had over this, because remember, this is with the women coming out and serving the car and putting the tray on the window and stuff. Okay, that canopy that was there is now out in the RC, the radio controlled airplane thing over on Peck and 38. That's their hangar basically out there. Was they took it out there, so it still exists if you want to go see it.
The building is currently for sale.
The building, yeah, but that is the original location for it. The only other thing that's kind of neat over here is we've got some of the stuff from Colonial Cafe. These are the original milkshake makers and stuff like that. Tom Anderson, as a treasurer on our board here, does a fantastic job for us, so I didn't want to neglect mentioning, because we kind of passed by the dairies on the other side, which included Anderson Dairy. So we've got a lot of artifacts like that. And that kind of leads us to what I considered earlier, the mystery box here. And this actually was the telephone booth from inside City Hall, the municipal building. And we have a lot of elementary classes that come here. And one day I was here doing a thing, and all the kids came over and I said, "Do you have any questions?" And they said, "Yeah, how do you open up that box?" And I said, "Well, it's simple." They said, "No." I said, well, show me. So they all were over here and they're all doing this. And they're all as hard as they can. Yeah. And finally just came over and I went, So then they had to show them, of course, what a dial telephone is.
It doesn't speak well for the education at the elementary school level.
You got to be exposed to it at some point, right? Yeah.
And I see, of course, over here, we've got some commentary about the Arcata. And so that's approaching its 100th
It is. Yeah.
anniversary here in a few years.
Yeah, the 1926, 1928 are going to be big years for anniversaries in town here. The whole 20s are. I mean, this year's the 100th anniversary for the St. Charles Country Club, 1923. Okay, so the Norrises reach into everything. A lot of stuff that I talk about today, people that I meet all ask questions about. It was all people's lives. Everywhere you went, there were things. They donated some of the property that's used for Potawatomi Park, for example. They helped rebuild the St. Charles Country Club when it
And
burned
let's
down.
not talk about St. Charles East High School and the land over there.
Yep, and the Baker Community Center.
If I may, the hospital.
Yep.
Right, Del Nor.
Del Nor.
Exactly.
A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah,
That's right.
Del Nor
You're
Hospital,
right.
fantastic job done there of making a hospital, mainly a maternity type hospital,
Right.
what they spent their time on, but they wanted to make it the most comfortable place in the world for the women that were going to be in there. But they're one of the places that had that all glass maternity
Right.
window, so you could go in and visit the kids that were.
I
were in
believe
there.
my nephew and niece were born there.
Right.
So I don't think you have enough time to go into the whole story of the Baker Norris family, but tremendous to me was the fact that you had Colonel Baker, gentleman farmer, loved his horses, loved to ride around in his Cadillacs down Main Street, wearing his straw hat and waving to the crowds as they were going by, enjoyed being kind of the king of Main Street here in St. Charles, lived in that hotel. After his wife passed away, he lived there until he died in 1959. And then you have his niece, Delora Angel, who later became Delora Norris. Delora was very sober-minded, very much a person of the community, helped form the Red Cross thing here in St. Charles, the Del Nor Hospital, money that was made for cultural events and stuff like that. Quick story about Lester Norris. I'm not sure that everybody understands Lester Norris's background. He was a caricaturist for the Chicago Tribune. He drew cartoons for the vaudeville reviews that they were doing. She and he were friends in high school their whole lives. When she inherited the money, she was the richest 15-year-old in the world. Okay?
And then the friendship changed once she got the money?
Actually, no. Actually, they were farming her out to everybody and their brother, saying, look at this guy, this doctor in Ecuador, this rich man in Europe and everything else. In the meantime, Lester is mailing her little love letters with little drawings of mice and rabbits and things, and telling her, how much he still thinks about her. So when she turns 20 years old, she tells her family, she says, I'm going to marry Lester. And she comes back here and she marries Lester, which of course freaks everybody out. Eventually though, Lester Norris becomes CEO of Texaco Company. Lester Norris is a great businessman and able to, really do great things with the money that they get. And part of this partnership, I think, that created this whole thing. Lester Norris, though, kind of fun fact, because there's lots of them in St. Charles, Lester Norris studied art at the Art Institute, not at the Art Institute, but a kind of a commercial art school attached to it, with another guy that most people know by the name of Walt Disney. Okay, they were there at the same time. And he actually developed Tinkerbell and said that he gave that to Walt Disney as kind of a gift, gave him the idea for Tinkerbell.
Very nice.
Later on, Lester and Delora were actually part owners in Hell Roach Studios, our gang and the
Laurel and Hardy?
all the things that came out of that thing, they were part of that. I don't know for how long or anything, but I remember reading about that recently too.
So the takeaway here is that if you have a sense of humor, you can get the gal, right? I think that's really what we're talking about.
And of course, the two people you mentioned, Delora and Colonel Baker, the only two statues downtown,
Yep.
representing two wonderful benefactors to the community.
Definitely.
The only two so far.
And I see it's sold here, but for our audience, Steve Gibson took a book that was written in 1976 by Ruth Sean Pearson called Reflections of St. Charles. And what he did, a fantastic job, is he edited it and updated it to the present day. I was very humbled by the fact that he asked me to write a small intro in the front of it. But the fact of the matter is, this is a wonderful, wonderful review of our history here in St. Charles, and it's available. And I would suggest that if you're a history buff, like he has portrayed himself to be very nicely on our little tour, then you want to come down and get that.
Right, if I may, as the holiday season approaches, would you be willing to autograph copies?
Gibby would. I don't know that I would, but
We'll
in fact, Steve did autograph that, as you can see. But then the other thing I want to mention is the fact that the museum is obviously not-for-profit, and here looking for donations to keep the support going. Every year we have a fundraiser, and this year is no exception. At St. Charles Country Club, December 8th. There's still some tickets available.
Yes,
and this year, as we indicated in the museum, the theme is It's a Wonderful Life in St. Charles, 1933. Swing band, perhaps?
We have the Jazz Shout section band is going to be showing up, going to be performing live for us. We've got some cars out front. We're going to have some old cars out front that people will be able to see. We're going to try and set the mood, take everybody back to 1933 with the whole evening.
Is there a pool underneath the dance floor?
I haven't been able to check. Isn't that, we have to be surprised by that, right?
That's
the,
right.
the night of it. So
Spontaneous event.
And then finally, I guess for our audience, who wants to make a donation here?
Fantastic.
Tell us how we go about it.
So stcmuseum.org, easy enough to find, hopefully easy enough to remember. There's donation links on there. Just click on the join or support link up at the top of the menu, and you can kind of go through all the different levels of support. I talked a little bit about our VIP donors. I kind of like that one. It's a smaller select group of people, but they're our maximum supporters. And we reward that by having a couple of VIP events a year where we get together here at the museum and do something special for everybody. So if you can, that's a great way to be involved. But believe me, at any level that you can be involved, it helps the museum out and really makes it possible. 75% of our funding comes from the public, and that's an important number in anybody's budget, okay?
Sure.
75%. So.
And so, again, a review. This Saturday, the parade, the History Museum, you'll see Gibby and the crew as part of the parade as the Grand Marshals.
Are you throwing candy?
We've actually been told in like bold letters with special higher, bigger font, don't throw candy.
Pat's not aware of that ordinance, and therefore he likes to just bait that all the time. I'm glad you publicly admonished him on that point.
If I'm a kid watching the podcast, I wanted to know where to find the candy.
The previous night, Friday of this week, we're going to have the lighting of the lights. I see the Christmas trees already up, and they'll be lit up on Friday. So you want to make sure Friday and Saturday, as we talked about earlier on the podcast, that you're down here in St. Charles. So, first of all, for Steve Gibson, thanking him profusely for this wonderful tour, and wishing you, sir, a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Same to you.
For our crack producer,
yes,
Paul Stucco, sir, wishing you a wonderful holiday with your friends and your family. For my partner, Pat Crimmins. Pat, happy Thanksgiving to you, sir.
Yes. Abe Lincoln had a lot to do with Thanksgiving.
I'm sure he did.
No, he ordered executive order.
I want to remind our audience that I refer to my partner who always talks this way. Thanksgiving is a no-frills holiday. It's just a time for Thanksgiving to be with family, to be with friends, and to enjoy what we have here in the Fox Valley and beyond. So with that in mind, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. We'll see you soon. We have a lot of great production coming up for the holiday season, including Geneva's tour and the Chris Kindle Market. We're going to visit again for another time. You like that?
Wonderful experience.
Yes.
Yes.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. So long.
Happy birthday!
Frosty the Snowman was a jolly happy soul, with a corncob pipe and a button nose and 2 eyes made out of coal.
Frosty the Snowman is a fairy tale, they say. He was made of snow, but the children know how he came to life on